If you have not already done so, please mute your line and acknowledge your attendance by stating everyone from your facility who's with you and your facility into chat. That would be awesome. Thank you for doing that. And then just to recap that today's session is an opportunity for all of us to raise questions and just present those scenarios that we need a little further clarification on, bring up anything that's outstanding, and for us to just learn of any further needs you might have related to NHSN and understanding NHSN going forward. We'll wrap up with that piece, but we want to start first with just those questions and those scenarios that you have that we need to either review or address to make your understanding just a little bit better. If we need to visualize the NHSN screen, Miranda has graciously again volunteered to share her screen. So thank you so much, Miranda. We'll kick things off by asking Margaret if she has anything in particular that she would like to share, any additional information that she thinks may be helpful or wants to reinforce, or anything else that hasn't been discussed. We'll just open it up to Margaret first, and then we'll open it up to all participants. You'll have to unmute yourself, and or you can write your questions into chat as well. So Margaret, we'll turn it over to you to get things started.
Okay, I thought I would just quickly go back to NHSN and just show where a few things are very quickly. So I'm going to share my screen. Now you should be seeing the NHSN. Basically, when you go to cdc.gov, if you see up here, cdc.gov/NHSN, this is what you come to. So go to acute care critical access hospitals. And then when you're there, you see there is resources here. And so by facility, so you're gonna want to go back into the acute care critical access hospital. And then, oh my goodness, wait a minute, it keeps going back there, doesn't it? Where was I? Because if you go to, this should be showing you a different page here. Patients, I think you have to go to patient safety component. That's where I wanted to go, patient safety component. Sorry, see, even I get things screwed up sometimes. So here, annual surveys, locations and monthly reporting plan, analysis. This one you won't be able to do. Any of your events are along here. Frequently asked questions, and a lot of times if you go to that frequently asked questions, you'll get your question answered. The calculator and worksheets and the HAI checklist. So they're all along this left-hand bar here. So if we go to annual surveys, location and monthly reporting plan, this is going to tell you, see, here's your March 1st deadline where they tell you that you have to have your survey in or else you will not be able to start doing a reporting plan. And then it gives you the instructions. These tables of instructions you'll find everywhere, like here's acute care hospitals. This is what you want to go to, table of instructions. Same thing like if you were looking for something on UTI that you needed information on, if you go to the UTI, there it shows you your protocols, which is basically your definitions. That's the chapter it's in. There's some other chapters they list here. And then if you keep scrolling down, you get to the forms. So again, here's this table of instructions. If you open the form, it basically shows you the screen that when you're entering an event, these are the things you're going to have to, this is basically what it's going to look like on NHSN. So if you wanted to use this sheet as you're writing things up, sometimes it's very helpful to do that. Second, I gotta move this. So then the other thing is, again, table of instructions. So when you're going in to fill out that form and you don't know what they're asking, what they want there, go to this table of instructions and it will give you the information there. So that's always a handy device to have. So I think that's, that's the big thing I wanted to reinforce is that these things, there's calculators and worksheets. This helps you put things in and determine if it is an infection. Again, what you put in has to be the right information, or otherwise it's going to give you back the wrong information. And then, of course, these HAI checklists. That's also very valuable because here again, you'll be able to say you want to do urinary tract and you click on that. Then it's going to go through these things for you, like this is what I need, this is what I have to meet a definition. And I know that's basically where Janet leads people for the group to use these checklists so that we're comparing chickens to chickens or apples to apples, and we're not, you want the beauty of NHSN is one, that it gives you solid definitions, okay? So you can determine if it's a true UTI, and if your neighbor down the street calls a UTI and they're using NHSN, you will also call it a UTI. If you use coding or based on doctor's documentation, then you're not going to compare yourselves, because some practitioners look at things differently, and NHSN is not meant to be like a clinical definition. Doctors can always disagree, right? And call something and treat something. But this is meant to be more of a, so that they can compare facilities, so they have the standardized definitions. It's meant so that when they share with the public, like especially states that have they have to do public reporting, it's shared with the public, then they really are comparing, your rate or your SAR is going to be the same as somebody else down the road. And you really can't get an SI, well, you can calculate itself, but it's a long process. If you're using NHSN and they're publicly reporting it, your SIR, is going to be accurate and comparable to somebody else's SIR. The other thing, I think it helps you. They've got all those worksheets, keeps you organized. You put it in monthly, you don't have to put things in daily, sets up some time aside, block a chunk on your calendar, say you're going to work on NHSN data today. But, like I said, I'm all for using NHSN for those reasons, is that you can always compare yourself. If they ever decide we're going to report this to CMS, it will be the way that you're going to have to enter it. You might as well learn it now. And I think things are going more and more that way. That's really about, and you always have the support with NHSN. You can always email NHSN. You can always call me. You can get a hold of Janet and talk things through. NHSN uses very scientific definitions and whatnot, so that, like I said, you can always compare. And not clinical decisions. And clinical decisions, yes, are different than NHSN. I just want you to keep that in mind. So if you say this is an SSI, your neighbor's going to call it an SSI. The doctor may decide not to treat, but that's his clinical decision and right to do that, okay? And I think it helps too to look back at that to help with some of our antibiotic overuse too. You know, it gives you an idea where you're going, where you're with things, and be able to step back and look like, oh, we've got a lot of C. diffs. Are we using a lot of antibiotics? And be able to have some hard proof to show to your physician, hey, this is what's really going on here. I'll get off my bandwagon then. Are there any other questions or anything else you want to actually go into NHSN to see?
A couple of things, Margaret. First, I can put my contact information into the chat, but people are asking how to get in touch with you. So if you wouldn't mind just entering into chat how best to get in touch with you.
Okay.
I know last week, what was, in my opinion, extremely beneficial was one of our hospitals contacted me and I set up a Zoom with Margaret. And so it was Margaret and this individual and myself, and using Zoom. So Margaret could actually see this facility's Zoom. And I think that really helped this individual work through their reporting plan and some of the other things that she needed help with. So that's an excellent opportunity we have with Margaret, and we are so thankful for that. So don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I can set up the Zoom, or Dana can set up the Zoom, and we're both here for you, Dana and I. So don't hesitate to reach out. Seems like there was something else I was going to say, but I can't remember what it was right now. I think we can open it up to all of you now. If you want to unmute your line and pose a question or a scenario, or write it into chat if you have a question, that would be great. Any questions? Are any of you having, questions around the use of NHSN versus, self-reporting HAI data? Are there any questions out there about that? Maybe that Margaret didn't address already. I know she covered the benefits of NHSN. Is there any more information around that that's required or needed? If you ask a question, there's probably somebody else who will benefit from it. So don't hesitate, okay? I'll teach, I'll learn.
I'll ask one.
All right.
Did you find this 5-week course and going through NHSN helpful? Did you gain knowledge? Do you think you feel like you gained what's the word I want? Confidence in the fact that you could use NHSN? Did it help demystify or take some of the, I think people are afraid of it at times. Did it help with that? No, it's fine if they didn't.
I was gonna say, please be honest. Oh my goodness. an even more remedial class. It did help build confidence. Jody's waiting to get access. So when that happens, she'll probably take this class again. You know, my understanding of the plan is that once we've completed this session today, the plan is to put the recordings of these 5 sessions and the slides out on the NHA website for you to listen to again if you feel that that would be helpful. The examples of how to abstract them. That's great. 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 Yeah, having those recordings will be helpful. So it sounds like even some pretty experienced people have learned some things. That's great. Let's see, did I miss a question? I want to make sure. How long does it take to hear back from NHSN when trying to get level 3 access?
That's an excellent question. They have been very backlogged. Usually what happens, it depends how you're doing it. If you're trying to enroll your facility, they're usually pretty quick about getting that stuff back. Once you submit your paperwork there, then they send you the SAMS, which is the security access, which is your level 3 information. And then once you send that, all the information to them that you need for your SAMS, which is, you know, your photo IDs, your, what is that called? Notarized statement of basically who you are. It can take about a month for you to get a grid card, you know? So it's not, that isn't necessarily a very fast thing. It's like, you're not going to get it next week. You're not going to get it tomorrow. You've got to wait probably close to a month to get your grid card. It has to come to your house because remember that grid card is yours for life. As long as you log into NHSN once a year, you'll stay active. That's something important to remember. If you're not using NHSN on a regular basis, after a year, you're going to lose your SAMS, your SAMS permission, let's put it that way. And you'll have to reapply and go through it again. So really get in there at least once or twice a year if you're not doing anything else to keep that active. If you change facilities, that grid card goes with you. You just go into SAMS and you change your email address. Okay, and then once you do that, then again, the grid card's gonna be tied to that new email address. And you're gonna have some, wherever your new facility is, they have to set you up as a user using the new email address, and then you'll be able to go in and do things.
Margaret, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Jody.
Okay, this is Jody, and I had reached out to you that I never got the email after it said that I would get one back from them in 2 to 3 hours.
Right.
And I still haven't heard back from them.
You still haven't heard back from them?
And I've sent them a couple emails now.
Okay. If you checked that the email address that you were using when you first applied for it was correct?
I'm not for sure how to do that because the gal that retired did that.
Oh, okay.
And my supervisor, who was supposed to have administration rights, her email, like when they switched emails in the company, it's so she has 2 different emails and one doesn't match up with NHSN. And so she can't even get in to do any reporting.
Right. Okay. And you tried emailing?
She reached out over a month ago too, and we haven't heard back.
And you tried to resend the email to NHSN when I after you talk to me, right?
Yep, yep.
Not sure how to take it to the next level. Let me think about that, Jody, and I will get back to you. I'll get back to Janet, okay?
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you.
See if I can find a name, more of an actual name person we can contact.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm glad you brought that up, Jody. We need to get you hooked up. Any questions about the reporting plan? Anything about events that you want to go over? Reporting events or your summary data? Well, while you all think about that, I do want to find out before we bring this to closure, I do want to find out what your interest is, or if there is interest in receiving any additional NHSN training, and what that would be. Okay, now we're going to pause on my question. Somebody is saying to please go over summary data. Kathy is. So Miranda, is it possible for you to pull up your screen and share? Thanks for speaking up, Kathy. Appreciate it.
Well, Miranda's doing that. I'll tell you, summary data, again, remember, is line days for like UTIs and BSI. For your MDRO module for MRSA and CDC, what they're looking for are the admissions and the patient days. So there you see, she says they have 4 missing summary items. So this is what they're looking for. So if you click on, so this DA is device, okay? And it brings up the screen to put in her, then this is what's called summary data. This is what they mean by summary data. So they're looking for her total patient days, her central line days, because in her reporting plan, she said she was going to report central lines. And in her reporting plan, she said she's going to report the catheter-associated UTIs. You see, ventilators days does not have a red star by it because that is not in her reporting plan. So remember, they go very much by your reporting plan. And so you can always report something that's not in your reporting plan, and that's called off-plan reporting, okay? So if for some reason you wanted to do that, you could always do it. But this is summary data. So they're looking for her total patient days. They're looking for her central line days. And you see up at the top, it says May. So what they're looking for is May data. So it is just June 1st. You may not have it on June 1st, but they go ahead and put that alert there. It's to remind you that you should be putting that in sometime in June, okay? So, you know, if you've counted days every week or every day like you should be, after May 31st, you would have at least this much data. What you're not going to have is, you see over here, it says report no events, is you may not know if you have events.
So
and as we talked before, if you don't want to see that alert, you can click CLABSI and UTI, report no events, but this will not allow you to click in there until you put some line days in there for the central lines or the urinary days. Okay, so you see she's put some in. So now, since she put 0 in catheter days, you see that stays grayed out because you cannot have a event. You can't have an event if you don't have any catheters in. She just said she had 3-day central line days, so she could possibly have eclampsia from that. So it did not gray that box out, so she can click that. And then this side over here, sample values for estimating denominator data. You're not going to have enough line days to be able to do this. And this is a whole nother way of reporting. And it talks about I think you have to have at least 75 days of everything to even use this. And you're not going to, so I've never gone into explaining what they mean by that. So you can basically ignore that sample values. But once she saves this, even though she's got CLAPSI reported no events, I see now it's taken it off her alert screen. But say she does find a CLAPSI 3 days later. She goes in, she enters a CLAPSI event. When she enters her CLAPSI event, it's gonna uncheck that box automatically. So don't worry if you've checked that box and then you find something. So okay, so let's go back to summary data. Okay, so this is one way, okay? So this is telling her now for May, they want her values for the ED, which is, how many encounters, the facility wide. So she clicks on that summary. Here's the ED. So how many encounters, how many people came into the ED during the month of May? Is really all that's asking. So how many visits were there? And once you put that number in, then you see now you've got some stars here. So C. diff. Did you have any C. diff? If you have no events, you click it there. And of course, if you've had no MRSA in the bloodstream, you click it there and you say save. You're done. So this is just exactly the facility wide in. That's now the one for your main floor, your hallway. So again, they want total patient days and then total admissions. So admissions is how many people came in, and total patient days is from each of those admissions, totaling the days of how long everybody stayed. The second line, they tell you to track CMS certified like rehab or psych units, which a CAW is not going to have. So then you're going to have the same numbers on that line. Now, this one may change if you've had a baby born. If you have babies in the nursery, you're going to subtract your babies out, okay? If not, again, you would put in the same number of days. And then if you scroll down on that, again, they're asking, did you have event for C. diff? Was there a positive C. diff taken on the main nursing floor? Or did you have a MRSA, blood or MRSA on the main nursing floor? In other facilities, you have lots of units. That's the reason we use the facility wide. FAC wide in is then, they're asking for that data for all the units, then save. Again, say she, and this outpatient is going to be the same thing. This would be like your observation unit is what this is. If you have if you set up an actual observation unit. An observational unit, they're just looking for the encounters. And save. Okay, now say you put that in that way from the alerts, but you can always go into summary data on this side, say add. And then you're gonna, what are you putting in? Device associated, or your MDROs. So devices is UTIN, central lines, MDRO, and is of course the MRSA, bloodstream infections, and your CDI. These other device associated, you know, there's this ICU. So if you had an ICU set up, then you would click on that one. If you had a neonatal, a NICU, then that's what that next one is. And then the other one is like it's an oncology type unit. And as a CAW, you may have an ICU if you have that as a separate location. That would be probably the only one that you would be using. So you can enter it this way as well. So go ahead and. So here you would put your location. So for MDROs, facility wide. Then you would put your month that you wanting to enter. So I want, you know, whatever month you want to enter. And you see, when she did that, it came and it's all filled out because she's done it through the alert screen. It is one way for you, like if you can't remember, did I do that? If you go and do this, you will see that you did. Now, if you scroll down, Miranda, to the bottom of that page, there's an edit button there. So say you entered all that, but for some reason you need to go change a number, you got some new information, not so much for events, but you know, maybe you messed up on what you put in for your patient days or your admissions. This is how you can change it. Okay, and then once you make the changes, you just hit save again and it's there for you. And you could tell that she's done that and saved it because everything's sort of grayed out. She can't make any changes unless you hit the edit, okay? And then remember that surgical sites don't have summary data. They're under procedures. And so it's your procedures, the individual procedures put in or an event. Okay, somebody said something they wanted us to go through a reporting plan.
Mm-hmm.
Want to go up to reporting plan? Finder, well, add, let's go add. Because if that's how you would start. So you would put in the month you would want to put a reporting plan in. And your year. So she hasn't done a reporting plan for June, it looks like here. Or you have, are those grayed out? Yeah. But that's what you would do. Then you would go up to, do you have any months you haven't put a reporting plan in for? How about if we go edit on one of them and then that'll help. Because it'll show up the way I want you to see it when you don't have anything. There you go. It's not going to let you do that because you have to have, in order to put a reporting plan in, remember you have to fill out an annual survey for that year before it's going to let you put anything in. I mean, this is bringing it up. I think if you do the drop down there, so device associated, yeah, that helps. You can put whatever unit you're going to do the reporting on. So like inpatient for UTIs. And then you would click, what are you going to report? CLABSI, CAUTI, ventilator, VAEs, the ventilator associated events. And then say you have another unit that you want to do, you click on add row. You're going to get the same drop down. And then you would put for what is your different unit. I'm not sure if it's going to let you do that because that's an outpatient area. See, and it knows that's an outpatient area, and an outpatient area, you're not going to, again, ED is an outpatient. So it's going to say you can't have line days or CLABSI days for an outpatient unit. But if you have another inpatient unit set up, it won't yellow out like that. Go down to the surgeries because we could do that. So again, you want to hit your drop down arrow there. So what do you want to report? You want to report C-sections. You go down, you find the C-section. Then are you going to do in and outpatient? And remember, definition of in and outpatient in NHSN is an inpatient is the admission date is one calendar date, and then the dismissal date is another. So even if your financial codes someone as an outpatient surgery, but they came in June 1st and didn't leave until June 2nd, it's an inpatient and it's put under inpatient. But if they came in June 1st, early morning June 1st, and you sent them home June 1st, they're an outpatient. So you can mark, what are you going to report? Just inpatients or both, in and out? And then I want to add another surgery there. So add row, find the other procedure you want to report. So say you want to do hips as well. Those are under what they call H-Pro right there. And then again, it's probably in and out, or just in, whatever you want to do, or just out, whatever you want to do. Okay. And then when you want to skip antimicrobial use and resistance, because that's reporting the drugs, and that's all electronic reporting. Unless you have it that set up, that sophisticated that your pharmacy system can connect up with NHSN and send the data over. And if that's the case, if you want to do something with that, you really need to get a hold of NHSN to help you through that, because there's nuances to it that I don't know, because it's all computer and, you know, your, what they call those NHL 7 codes and whatnot. So this multi-drug organism one is where you're going to find your C. diff. So facility-wide in, and then say C. diff. And you see, when you do that, it automatically gave her the ED. And if you scroll down, I think it'll automatically give you the observation. And the reason it did that is because she has those units set up. If you did not set up ED or an observation unit as a unit, it's not going to default to those. But if you have, it will default to those. So then what are you going to do? You see, it even already defaulted to lab ID, vet, all specimens, because with CDI, it would be any, you know, stool specimen that's positive for it. So actually, there you go. Your C. diff is done. Then if you go add rows, and again, tell it what you're going to do, facility-wide in, and then go tell it MRSA. So there it gives you the option to report all MRSA positive. That's what all specimens is. So that would be if MRSA is growing in a wound, you're going to report it. But what most people do only is that bloodstream infection. That's the one that CMS required, okay? So this would only be MRSA that grows up in a blood culture. And again, you see when she put facility-wide in for MRSA, her ED and observation automatically defaulted in there for her. But if you want to report it unit by unit, you could also do that. But facility-wide in reporting is really the standard of how most people report, and that is what CMS is looking for, is that designation. Okay, so then you could go ahead and save that, but I'll tell you right now, it won't save it for. Oh, it did say successfully, even though you put 2022 in there, because we couldn't get it to do that. Okay, go in now and put the next month from what you just did.
I wonder if it's because she has till March to complete her
Yeah,
annual.
maybe.
I
So
bet
she's being
April's-
able to do ahead of time. Okay. Did you do February? We must have done February because I see there's stuff coming in there. Oh, okay, you were marking it. I'm sorry, you're ahead of me. Okay. What I wanted to show them was, but go on down to the procedure module. You see that copy from previous month? Click that. It puts it in there. So if you're every month, you're going to do the same thing, you don't have to separately put it in there. You can always click copy from previous month. You could do that. It looks like that device module. Did you take that out? Go copy previous month. Yeah. And it put it in there. Same thing when you go down to your multi-drug, say copy from previous month. And it's got that in there. And then you hit save. Now you do have to scroll through month by month. You can't just put all, so if you probably could still do March for this year because I think it'll let you do through March. No, because here it's telling you it needs a hospital survey that has to be completed before you can put it in. So you're ahead on next year already for January and February if you leave it in there. But this is the error code you're going to get. You're trying to put your reporting plan in and you keep getting this. It's telling you you didn't do the survey. So you have to go in and do the survey. And remember, your survey is probably going to say 2021, but it's actually looking for data from 2022. Does that help with the monthly reporting plan? And the other thing is, like Janet said, if you're really having trouble struggling through it, give her a call. We can set up a session like this and actually walk you through setting up help you walking through and set up your reporting plan. And I think once you do it, then you'll know how to do it again. It's just doing it once or twice. Okay, any other part, anything on procedures that people are confused about?
Margaret, one thing I might just add, and I'm not one to promote a lot of printing and paper use, but just remember that if you want to say keep a monthly data notebook of what you have submitted, sometimes it's easier to go to that than to sign into NHSN all the time. You can go up here and print this form. I'm not necessarily saying that about your monthly reporting plan, but maybe some of your other information. That's just a nice little thing to have, be aware of, and you can slip that in your monthly data notebook and know what you submitted, you know, with a quick glance. So
yeah,
we do have a question also. Are there requirements in a critical access hospital that states what surgeries need to be reported in NHSN? And if yes, where do I find the requirements on what needs to be reported?
there are no requirements for critical access other than if you're in this group with Janet and Dana, whatever they have told you to do. And actually, if we go back to the main NHSN screen, there is a place that will show you the CMS requirements. So if you want to go out of there, Miranda.
Do you want me to stop sharing and you share then?
Yeah, if you stop sharing, I'll bring up the the screen.
Okay. I stopped.
Okay, I've got it. You see it my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, there should be. There's somewhere on here that it tells you, let's get back to. Okay. Oh, I went too fast. It was right there. So on the NHSM homepage, you see the CMS requirements. So then it will go through what are the CMS, those are resources. I think there's one of these you click. Yeah, there's CMS requirements for nursing homes. Healthcare HAI requirement for CMS via NHS currently proposed requirements. Reporting requirements and deadline for NHM for CMS current rules. So if you click on that, it brings this chart up. So here's acute care facilities. And when they're saying acute care facilities, you know, they're talking about your PPEs, your greater than 25 beds. So they have to report CLAPSIs, and it started back in 2011, and that's what they had to report. And then Q1 in 2015, they added these on. And then these are the dates they have to have the information in by for each quarter, because at the end of that quarter, so by August 15th, they have to have entered January through March. And then after August 15th, NHSN freezes your data, and then they send the data to CMS. You can continue to add stuff, but if you add things after August 15th, it will not get submitted to CMS, which if you have a requirement to submit stuff, it could hurt you. So you would want to make that that's the reason they give you, see, they give you another 3 months beyond the time that quarter ends to collect all your data. And then here, outpatient dialysis is another one that has to report. And this is what they have to report. And there are their deadlines. Long-term acute care, your LTACs have to report. And again, it's telling them what they have to report. Inpatient rehab facilities, then that's what they have to report. Ambulatory surgical centers, they have to report healthcare personnel influenza. That's the only thing. Inpatient psych, healthcare personnel influenza. The PPS exempt cancer facilities, again, this is what they have to report. And you see there's nothing that says critical access in there. So you have no reporting requirements. But if you want to go back even and see what the, there's one in here, it said proposed required proposed, but this is an old one, so it's never changed. But if you see that changing, then you might go look and see if they're proposing that the critical access will be in there. And you probably, as a NHSN user, if that's going to happen, you're probably going to get an email also notifying that you need to report something. But there's how you can always see what CMS is up to for your facility. So it was under NHSN home CMS requirements.
Margaret, this is Janet. I have a question sort of related to what you just went over. So we have some facilities that are very new to NHSN. They're reporting January and beyond 2021 data for the first time. And we've kind of asked them to enter at least 3 consecutive months of baseline data, which would possibly be October, November, and December of 2020. Will that still go up into NHSN and CDC?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You can always go back. You can
Okay.
even change your reporting plan. You can always go back months, years, and change things if you have the data to change it. And they do like that you keep things accurate. So if you say, uh-oh, but remember that each year they may make a few changes on definitions. Make sure that if you are going back to enter data for 2020, you look at the definitions from 2020. If you're looking back to actually report and you haven't done it and you're doing the surveillance for 2020 now, you don't want to use 2021 definitions for 2020. Does that make sense?
Very good point, Margaret. Thank you. Any other questions or scenarios you'd like some assistance with? Well, before we close for the day, I do want to find out from you, or at least pose the question, and you can enter it into chat, or you can certainly email Dana and or myself and let us know if you have any additional NHSN training needs. We just want to make sure that we have a survey, a sense of where you're all at, and if there are any additional needs. And, maybe we can address those on a one-on-one basis, or maybe there's a need for more of a group type setting like this. So please don't hesitate to reach out and let us know if you have some additional needs. And I do want to just thank Margaret Drake again for her willingness to work with us on this cohort, for all the time you have spent in preparing and presenting this information, and for being such a great resource to NHSN, regarding NHSN, for our enrolled participants. I also want to thank Miranda again for sharing her screen, providing that very appropriate visual for us all. And I want to thank you all for participating in this cohort. We do hope it's been helpful and provided you an avenue to solidify a better understanding of NHSN as it relates to the HQIC measures and beyond. Margaret, I do want you, if possible, to just share one more time, if facilities are interested in sharing their data with the state HAI group, how they can do that.
Oh, I'd have to go find that PowerPoint.
Okay, that's okay.
The first week's PowerPoint has the information.
Okay.
And I'm not on the right computer to pull that up, I believe. Do you have that first week's PowerPoint, Janet?
Oh, let's see if I do. If you want
See
to
if I have it here.
Patient here with me, I might be able to.
It's basically going into NHSN, and on that left-hand blue bar, you find join group. You go under facility, I believe, in group. And then you have to put in the name of the group you want to join. And it would be Nebraska HAI. And then you put in the password. And I can send that out. I have to actually go in and find it myself.
I've got the PowerPoint up. Was it at the beginning or the end of your presentation?
I think it was at the end of the presentation.
Okay, let me just, all right. Here we go. I've got it.
Okay, and if you'll share your screen.
Yep, just a minute here. And I wonder if you would just talk a little bit, Margaret, about how this benefits the state, or
This just gives us more complete data, how we're doing as a state, and includes our critical access into it. Because right now the state, they made the requirement for reporting was if you have a CMS mandate, you have to report. So like we get dialysis data, we get the LTEC data, we get the PPS hospitals, 25 beds and larger data. But the critical access hospitals are not represented in any of that data. And it makes our results look different than like what NHSN is even reporting out. And it could be, we can divide it up so I could pull out just the other hospitals, I could just pull out the cost, and it would just help like the HA advisory group especially know what's going on, not for, oh, we're going to send regulatory in because you're doing so bad. What it helps us to know is there somebody that seems to have high rates in something, and could the HAI program come in and help them, which may include send an ICAP in for a visit, or to, look at things and see what's going on. Or we may start with me looking at what you're reporting and are you reporting it correctly? So to the state's advantage, it just gives us a better handle on what is happening around the state with our hospitals. And for you, it may be another set of eyes on, oh, there's why are you you have a high rate or something, and what's going on? Is there something we can help you with? And again, like I said, it's not regulatory for that, what we would be doing with it at all. I mean, that would be your CMS people, or your surveyors when they come in if they want to see something, but that is not what the HAI group is at all. The HIA group is to help drive down healthcare associated infections in Nebraska and looking for outbreaks and clusters where we actually try to go help. Or like I've done colonization screening for CREs, carbapenemase producing CREs, and gone to facilities to see why does it seem like it's being spread in your facility. And in that case, sometimes we've even brought ICAP in to do another set of eyes on it, to look at it. I've gone alone, I brought ICAP, when we had the HAI director, Dr. Tierney, she has come with me. Our epidemiologist, Dr. Ishrat Kamal Ahmed, has gone through records to look at things to see if there's a common denominator in there that way. So those are some of the things that might happen. Most of the time, we're not doing anything, to tell you the truth. We may do state initiatives, like we're seeing everybody has a high thing. We saw that with surgeries. So we convened a group meeting to go over what everybody was doing with surgeries to try to standardize things and bring those rates down. So it may be something like that. If we see critical access hospitals are having a problem, say in one area or on one thing, and it's the majority of them, then we could convene a whole group to try to work collectively together to lower a rate on something.
Thank you, Margaret. If there aren't any more questions, we can bring today's session and the cohort to closure. Again, just reach out to Dana or myself. If you do have some additional needs, we're happy to help you hook up with Margaret or plan additional training. And I want to be clear that, this is very voluntary in terms of submitting your data to the state HAI group. It's very voluntary, but
It is.
on the grander scale, it may be beneficial for everyone. So thank you all again for joining us for this cohort. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, Miranda. We do hope the material's been helpful. Don't forget, we're here to help you and walk alongside of you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Hmm.